Hello, everybody, wherever you may be, around the world, coast to coast. My name's Larry, my call sign's K4M, and this is Ham Radio Live. I'd like to ask you to please subscribe. I don't intentionally put ads here. YouTube does that, but I promise you there'll be no ads in the middle. You'll see content all the way to the end. And if you, in the end, subscribe and maybe share the channel with somebody else, folks that have an interest in ham radio just may find it and find a hobby for life. And that's what we're talking about. Because we all know this is the best thing in the whole world to do, to have fun. Isn't that right? I mean, isn't that right, everybody? All right. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm happy to see you. It is a Tuesday, the 20th day of April, 2021. And this could be the most polarizing show ever, but we'll make it anyway. How are you, everybody? Welcome to the chat. It's good to see you. We had a big day yesterday. Karen, bless her heart, she drove all the way up to Bellevue, Washington. That's the home of Step IR. Step IR makes performance ham radio antennas all over the world. People who, when you think of performance antennas, high quality performance antennas, you think of people like Step IR, OptiBeam, stuff like that, right? So you think of those places because they're very, very popular and they're well known around the world. Well, we had a chance yesterday to go over to Step IR, and it was great. Weather was perfect, man. 70 degrees in Seattle in April. I don't care, who you are. If you've ever been up here in the Northwest, 70 degrees in April is brilliant in Seattle. Man, no joke. No joke. Yeah. Want to welcome you to the show wherever you may be. Going to show you a few photos here, actually one, because I know that folks may not know exactly what Step IR looks like. And I'll give you a good view of the outside. You can't do inside tours right now because of the coronavirus, which is totally understandable, but we're grateful to have had the opportunity to visit, even though it was a short one, just literally to pick up an antenna and then come home and turn around, drive another 195 miles back or so. Anyway, this is the photo of what Step IR actually looks like when you go to the building there in Washington State. That's Step IR. Yes, it is. Now, this place makes powerhouses. They really do. Fantastic antennas. I want to thank Step IR, the people there, Rowie and the whole gang at Step IR, for sending me a great urban beam that we're going to be doing a lot of work with. Costs some money. I'll be honest, it's expensive. But what it does, I think, is very important. We'll be showing that for a long time to come here on the channel. Welcome. Also, this could be a polarizing show for people who are fans of Flex Radio. And it's not meant to be. It won't be, I promise. We're going to also celebrate some folks who do some great work here. Plus, one of the most amazing DXPeditions you've ever seen will be live on this program. And chances for you, if you're not in amateur radio, to get into this hobby. First, let me start with the American Radio Relay League. If you'd like to get in amateur radio, something you've always thought about, having your own ham radio, right? Be able to talk to people all over the world and make contact. You can make great friends for life, too. That's the honest truth. Talk to people at the ARRL. Just hit the contact link, then fill it out. They'll be back in touch with you. They'll tell you where the nearest amateur radio club is to you to help get you on the path to getting your ham radio license. It's very simple to get a hold of them. You'll have to put some work in to get your license, but I'm going to guarantee you it is very, very well worth it. Truly is. Contact ARRL. Now, if you're up in Canada, the Radio Amateurs of Canada is a great group up there, and they will help connect you. If you're in Canada, just contact them at www.rac.ca. That's www.rac.ca. The Canadian Amateur Radio Group is so solid, they'll help you get started. And if you're over the pond in the UK, very active group, does great stuff. Contact the Radio Society of Great Britain. That's the RSGB. You'll find them at www.rsgb.org. All right. Some welcomes. John from Canada. Glad you had safe travels. John, thank you so much. Welcome to the show. It's nice to have you in Canada. Thank you, my friend. Yeah. Thank you. It's very kind of you. Thank you. We're going to work on getting you your license, buddy. We really are, because, gosh, we want you on the air. I can't wait to make a QSO with you. John, that's going to be fun. That will be a lot of fun. Also, wow, from the UK at this hour. That's craziness. My goodness. James is here. Hi, James. Mike 7, Bravo X-Ray Tango, mate. It's great to see you. Wow. I have to look at the clock. What is it? That's like 10:18 there at night. My goodness. James, thank you so much for coming to today's show all the way in the UK. It's late. Thank you. Pobot in the house. Hello, my friend. It's great to see you as well. Folks, we're going to do some licensing work here to get you started in amateur radio. That's the whole purpose here, to help people get licensed, plus talk about products that will help you in amateur radio. Now, keep in mind, these are my opinions. They're how I feel about them based on my experience. Your mileage may vary. That's the honest truth. But I can tell you that these are real reviews using good antennas and proper products. And it's what I experienced, okay? We'll work on that coming up soon. Before we do the test questions, however, I'd like to give a little love to one of the folks that watches the channel. Now, this is in VK land. Now, I'm not sure if this man wants to be a ham or already is a ham, but he made a really nice comment on the show. His name is Doug the Ferret Man. Doug is a neat guy, and he's got a great YouTube channel. If you liked, what's that show? The Crocodile Hunter, okay? It's like that. It's really good. He's very patient. He has dogs. They go out into the bush and they hunt for ferrets. He is brilliant. I'd like to show a little bit of Doug's work here because I think it's important for us to see a little bit about what's going on down under. Here's Doug the Ferret Man from the show. He watches us often. Doug, this is for you.
Put her in these burrows. They're nice and small. They're sandy, so we'll see what happens. I'll give you a quick look at this burrow over here. Look, I don't think they're holding many at all. But there was a little bit of scratching further out that way, but I couldn't find any burrows out there. But I did find this one here that looks like at some stage was extensive, but now it's not so good. There's no real fresh digging here. There is a little few scratchings there. There's one big hole in there, one hole over there, one in here, but it doesn't look that used to me. There's one there, down in there, another one over there. So anyway, guys, I'll throw down a couple of purse nets and get Lagatha out and give her a run around. I'll need it, she's untested. But there was a smaller burrow here that I've seen. I came across this one. So I went for a bit of a walk out in this area where it's a bit of higher ground and sandy, and made me way around the edges of it and came across these. Another hole there. So I'll throw down a couple of purse nets on this one, put Lagatha in and give her a little bit of work. Over this way, Fleet. We'll do that one in a minute, mate. I might actually just grab a couple of nets. I don't think for a second she's going to get stuck in here. The ground here is sandy on top, it'd be rock hard underneath. I know all this ground, and if she gets stuck, you wouldn't dig her out anyway. May look sandy on top, mate, but you go 3 feet down, forget it.
That's Doug the Ferret Man. Isn't that cool? You know, I do try and look at folks who come to the channel and see, you know, what they have. If there's something on YouTube, they have. And if it's something that I think you might find interesting, I try and show it as well. That's Doug the Ferret Man down in Australia. Doug, if you're looking to be in amateur radio, we would love to have you. We really would. What a treat. What a treat. You've got a good channel. You really do. I was very impressed. Oh, my goodness. Tom, look at this. Hi, Larry. Can't sleep. And look, you're live. Cheers. Thanks, Tom. Same to you. His call sign is in the U.S. Alpha Echo 1 Tom Papa in Bahrain. In Bahrain, he is Alpha 92. Golf Whiskey. It's nice to have you, Tom. Thanks for being here. All right, let's start up. We're going to go in to the technician first in the United States. Then we'll bump over to the British exam. If you'd like to be an amateur radio, this will help you with the first licensing level for each country. All right, so this is to help you, not to be a substitute for your study. All right, it's to help you. My hope here is to give you some supplemental help for your brain so when you take the test, you feel a little more confident. Okay, make sure wherever you are, US, UK, Australia, wherever, Japan, whatever country you live in, make sure you study hard with the materials that are for your country so you can be able to pass that test for amateur radio, okay? All right. And Tom, thank you. Will Myers, Kilo Alpha 8 Golf India Mike is here. Hi, Will. It's great to see you, as well as Bill Carter, Alpha Bravo 9, Quebec Union. All right, let's get into the study. First, technician, U.S. question is, what is component 3 in figure T2? It is a variable inductor. Now, it's such a big question because of the size of the schematic. You can't see it very well. You can't see it. Now, remember here, 4 is flying a kite. Remember? Kite, antenna. Easy to remember on number 4. Schematics are really simple when you memorize them in a way that is comfortable for you, all right? So remember, kite is an antenna. Kites are in the air, antennas go up. Here's what that schematic actually looks like. So you can see the variable inductor. There it is, number 3, okay? See how it kind of has that arrow that comes in from the dot below it, and then below that's a little fork, right? That's the ground, okay? So you have the variable inductor there at number 3. If you see that schematic, you know it is a variable inductor. All right, next question. On the U.S. technician, it's the initial license for the United States. First question here, what brief statement indicates that you are listening on a repeater and looking for a contact? Okay, so you're listening on an FM repeater, say on 2 meters. You could be on 70 SEM, 73, could be somewhere up higher than that, but you're listening, all right? How do people know you're there? You just give your call sign. You don't have to do anything else. You don't have to call CQ. The interesting thing about when you're using VHF, UHF, you don't have to call CQ, this is ABC 1, 2, 3. You just give your call sign. That's it. And then if anyone's there, they will call you back with their call sign. And then you have a conversation. Now, if you're on a national calling frequency, okay, that's the big difference. You're going to want to change frequency. So at that point, you make the initial contact if you're on a national calling frequency, and then just simply move maybe up 5 or 10 and just move the conversation. That's it. Next question. What is a talk group on a DMR digital repeater? We had this on the World Amateur Radio Day. Remember, we talked about the special DMR folks that were doing a QSL card, you know, self-addressed stamped envelope if you joined in. Digital repeater group. Yeah. Well, it's a way for groups of users to share a channel at different times without being heard by the other users on the channel. Now, that might sound weird, okay? Why would you talk on a channel that other people can't be heard on? Well, it's a way of communicating privately with other hams in the same node, basically, okay? So when you're in a talk group, you basically think of it almost like a Zoom meeting, all right? You're all in the same group, you're all talking about things, and it's private, okay? But it allows people to share ideas and thoughts without having to worry about any interruptions. That's basically it. Next question. This is on the U.S. technician, which is the initial license examination in the United States. Which of the following is an acceptable language to use for station identification? This is the key word here. Station ID. When operating in a phone sub-band. Forget everything with this question. Stop at station identification. That's the end of the question. It really is, okay? So which of the following is an acceptable language to use for station identification? That's it. It's the English language. You can speak in Spanish or Portuguese, German, Dutch. I mean, you want to speak in Russian, whatever. You can do that, but you have to give your station ID in English. That's the key, all right? Remember, you can talk in other languages to people. That's fine. Just make sure you're IDing in the U.S. every 10 minutes during the QSO. At the initial point, every 10 minutes, and at the end. You're fine. Now in the UK, it's a little different. Theirs is at the beginning, every 15 minutes, and at the end of every QSO. So that's the big difference between the USA and UK. They're 15 minutes in, we're 10 minutes. So every 10 minutes, give your station ID. Next question, when is it permissible to transmit messages encoded to hide their meaning? This will trip you up. It really will. Okay. Now, remember, this is such a weird question, but it's here, and you have to answer it right. The only time you can encode messages and when you're controlling commands to space station or radio controlled craft. Okay, that's the only time when you can transmit messages that are encoded, because you're transmitting to a thing. You're not transmitting to another human being. That's really the reason for the way it is. It's a different question though, isn't it? Not one of those questions you normally think of as being normal. Yeah, you're controlling a thing. Next question. Who may select a desired call sign under the vanity call sign rules? For example, okay, now this is a great question. In layman's terms, what this means is, can you select a call sign of your own? Basically, that's it. Who can do it? Who can select a call sign that they like better than the one the FCC gave them? It's any licensed amateur. Yeah, if it's available, you can apply for it and then get it. That's how it works. Now, keep in mind, this depends on license class, okay? You can't, for example, be a technician and get a short call sign, like what's known as a 1x2, like mine is a 1x2, K, then my district is 7, HN, 1x2. So there's 1 in the suffix, 1 in the prefix, 2 in the suffix. So you can't get those unless you're an extra. You have to be an amateur extra to get a license that has, a call sign that has a 1x2 or a 2x1. For example, if my call sign was KH7N, then I'd be a Hawaii ham, which would be kind of cool. But anyway, it would be a 2x1. All right. But you can get other configurations. Anyone could do them, including technicians. You can choose your own call sign. It's pretty cool. Next question on the U.S. exam for the technician. Except for some specific restrictions, what is the maximum peak envelope power for technician class operators using frequencies above 30 megahertz? The answer is 1500 watts. You can still use 1500 watts. Keep in mind this is above 10 meters, so you're on 6. Okay, remember the question is using frequencies above 30 megahertz. Please don't confuse this with when you get to VHF 2 meters, 70 sems. You're not going to use 1500 watts there. You won't, because you can't. Okay, the transceivers that we use just don't use that kind of power. It's not necessary. So you're using line of sight with those kind of calls. On 6 meters, you do use the ionosphere, so 1500 watts. Keep in mind the question said above 10 megahertz. All right. So, and 10, actually, I'm sorry, I messed it up. That's 30 meters. So if you're on, say, for technicians, you can only use phone on 10 meters. That's it. So microphone only on 10. You can use digital modes, CW and all that, but you're not going to ever use that kind of wattage for CW. CW is a lower power mode. So our digital modes, you don't want to run more than 25, 30 watts using digital modes. And CW, 100 watts is plenty. You don't need more than that. So keep in mind, for people who'd like to be in amateur radio, you can use 1500 watts above, 30 megas? Is that what it said? 30? I believe it did. Let me take a look at the question. Second, let me pop back on the screen here. Whoops. Next question. Hang on. Let me get it back here. Sorry. So with the way the question is worded, above, 30 megahertz. Okay. So we're 10 meters. So 1500 watts is fine. But when you get to VHF, UHF, you're not going to use that much power. All right. Next question. On the on the technician US. This is about some public service folks, races, okay? Which of the following describes the Radio Amateur Civil Emergency Service? That's a mouthful. So they call it races, okay? Well, races does lots of stuff They are a radio service using amateur frequencies for emergency management or civil defense communications. They're also a radio service using amateur stations for emergency management or civil defense communications. They're also an emergency service using amateur operators certified by a civil defense organization as being enrolled in that organization. RACES is very important in amateur radio. Now, RACES exists also ARES, Amateur Radio Emergency Service, okay? Those two groups are very important in amateur radio because if there's a disaster somewhere, amateur radio can get the word out quickly when the power lines and the cell phone towers go out. Amateur radio has a huge role in saving people's lives, whether it be fires, earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes. That's why they exist, and they have saved countless lives for it. Next question, we got two left. What is considered to be a proper grounding method for a tower? All right, so you're going to put up your first tower, and you're worried about lightning strikes. Here's the answer. Separate 8-foot long ground rods for each tower leg bonded to the tower and each other, okay? So you're going to put separate ground rods into the ground, basically, right? And you're going to bond them together, not only to the tower, but you're going to bond them all together. So each one will go to the tower base, and each one will be bonded around themselves too. So corner to corner, look at it that way. You got 4 corners typically in a tower. You just bond to each corner, and then you make sure that the bonds are also bonded together. All right, last question on the U.S. technician for today. What safety equipment should always be included in home-built equipment that is powered from 120 volts of power? That's basically this question, okay? So you've home-built something, all right? And you're new to ham radio. It doesn't matter if you're new or you've been doing it for years, and you know this answer, you've been doing it for years because you know the importance of it. The answer is a fuse or circuit breaker in series with the AC hot conductor. If you mess up somehow and you put something together wrong and all of a sudden you've got smoke, fire, and something's going wrong, you definitely have to make sure and get that thing on a circuit breaker or some sort of device that's going to cut the power to it, because if you don't, you're going to have a real big problem. And you don't want that. So just make sure whatever you're doing, make sure you put a fuse or circuit breaker in series before it goes into that prog, okay? Make sure.
Don't anybody move. Hold it right there. The fuse is out.
There you go. So that's very important. Some hellos to some folks who came in while we were doing our show and doing the test questions. Martin from the Netherlands is here. My goodness, it's late at night there, and here you are. Welcome. Papa Echo 9 Tango India Golf. He's at work the night shift, and he's here. Wow. Thank you. Adesh from Trinidad's in the house. It's so good to see you. Thank you so much for coming to today's show, Adesh. It's always nice when you come. Thank you. Thank you so much. You honor me. Sly Slew is here from Borneo. What a joy. Look at that. Wow. My goodness. Enjoying the early morning coffee and watching a little bit of this. Well, Sly, you honor me. Thank you so much for coming to the show. All right, UK test. We're going to get into that, and then we'll get into some talk about, something that may impress you. I think it will. One of the coolest QSOs to get ever, and I'll have a little summary about Flex Radio as well. Here we go. UK test. First question, which of the following is the greater? Okay, so they give you 1 milliwatt, 1 watt, 1 kilowatt, which means 1,000 watts, and 1 megawatt, which means 1 million watts. Okay? So, of this group here, okay?
Generate the 1.21 gigawatts of electricity.
1.21 gigawatts.
Of this, 1 megawatt is the right answer. That is that is the largest that's of those 4, okay? 1 megawatt is 1 million watts, so that's what it is. Next question, the maximum permitted power on 145.3 megahertz is 10 decibel watts. So basically 10 watts, okay? So dBW means 10 watts, okay? That's how much power you can use on 2 meters, which is 145.3 megs in the UK. So just keep that in mind, 10 watts. You're good to go. Next question's on the UK. What is the current flowing through a 5-watt bulb in a circuit rated at 13.8 volts? Again, this is the pyramid where you figure out current, power, and resistance, okay? Multiply 5 times 13.8, right? No, you don't do that. Because the pyramid, this time, you're dividing. Remember that. This is really important. That's why the power and resistance and current pyramid can help you. It really can. So if you take 13.8 and then you divide it by 5, all right? The other way around. 5 divided by 13.8, pardon me. You're going to come up with 0.362, all right? Now, 0.362, because there's a decimal point at the beginning, means it's a milliamp. Okay, it's a milliamp because the decimal point's in front of the 3. That's the simplest way to do it. All right, so here you have also kiloamps, amps, and megaamps. You don't want any of those. You've got milliamps because the decimal point comes first. Remember the pyramid. The power pyramid will help you tremendously. I've done that in the show multiple times. If you don't know it, please look back for it. Next question. A modulator that changes the frequency of the transmission is known as a frequency modulator. This one's a really easy question because it gives you the answer in the question. A modulator that changes the frequency. A frequency modulator. Bless their hearts. It's a good question. And it's one you should be able to pass. All right, next question. Which line best describes AC, which is alternating current, and DC, which is direct current? All right, the answer is AC runs in alternating directions, while DC runs in one direction. All right, alternating current, if you've ever seen a sine wave, I'm going to put it at the bottom of the screen, okay? Sine waves go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down like that. Direct current just makes hops. Think of them as hops, okay? It runs in one direction. That's the difference between the two. Next question, number 14. If the voltage is 2.2 volts and the resistance is 0.5, what is the current? I means current. Okay, so again, we go to the pyramid. This is a division answer, okay? So, it's a multiplication answer because the way that the triangle works. So, 2.2 times 0.5. Excuse me, I've got this all wrong. I did it the wrong way. Volt, the power's to the top, resistance bottom, current next. It'd be divided by, 2.2 divided by 5 is 0.44. Yep, there you go. And that's the answer. So it is, you take the pyramid, and the pyramid's simple. If you don't know it, where's my dry erase board? It's underneath the Mac. Let me get it back out. This will help you so much, and we've done this before on the show, but because it's for the UK people, I want to be able to get it right for you guys, okay? The power pyramid will help you on so many questions that are math related, and it might be helpful to you to remember. Your power pyramid works like this, okay? You basically have a triangle, looks like this. It's a poor triangle, I know, but we'll play along, okay? So it works like this. Your power, which is up here, okay? Then you put a line between these two. You have your resistor, so resistance over here, and your current, which is I, right there. If you do it this way, it will help you pass the test because just write it out on your scratch paper when you get into the test, when you're in the US. If it's not okay to take scratch paper into the UK test, obviously you can't do it. But this will help you tremendously because that's how I got the answer to both those questions. I'm simply using the formula here. If you want to find out what I is, you simply take P divided by R. That'll give you I. If you want to find out what P is, you multiply R times I, and then you'll get the answer. That's it. It's the power pyramid. And it's not hard to remember. Just write it out. Remember that I means current. P is power, or you can put as voltage. R is always resistance. Okay. Next question on the UK. This is the foundation license, first level of licensing in the UK. You wish to call CQ using BPSK31 on the 14 kilohertz frequency band. 14 kilohertz. Okay. Oh, okay. So it's 14,000 kilohertz. So that really means 14 megahertz, which translates into 20 meters. Okay. Where is the most appropriate frequency range of transmit frequencies to use it? Okay, this is a $60 question. Whew. All right. If you want to call CQ using digital mode BPSK31 on 20 meters, where will you do it? That's the real thing here. That's in layman's terms. You would do it between 14.070 megahertz and 14.089 kilohertz. Oh, megahertz, technically. So 14.07 megs to 14.089 megs. They give them in kilohertz here, which can be a little bit confusing, but it's the same thing. Remember, we're just using decimal points to change the place of what it is. So the correct answer in the UK would be 14,070 kilohertz to 14,089 kilohertz, and you have your answer. Okay, next question. What's the wavelength of radio frequency at 3 megs? Okay, what's the wavelength of a radio frequency at 3 megs? Let's get the dry erase board again, because this will help you. See, it says 100 meters, okay? This is really easy to do. Go in this, if you can put scratch paper with you in the mates in the UK, if you can do scratch paper with you, bring this in, put it on your scratch paper, use it. Remember, frequency is always going to be 300 divided by frequency. That's it. 300 divided by frequency. So in this case, if you take 300 and you divide the number they give you, no matter what number they give you, you'll always have the answer. Okay, so let's take a look back at this question, because I want you to know how we got there. For people that are in ham radio, this is really, I get it. You might be bored here, but for people that want to get into ham radio, this is important. So that's why I do this. All right. Look at the question. What is the wavelength of a radio frequency of 3 megahertz? The first thing you do is you put 300, all right? And then you divide it by 3. That's it. The answer is going to be 100, okay? And there's 100 meters. It works every time. It works every time. For any frequency you get, could be 7.2, could be 14.250, whatever frequency you get, divide by 300, you'll have the answer every single time. For the US, for any place in the world, that's the frequency formula. That's how it works. Next question, what is the wavelength of a radio frequency of 3 megahertz? Okay, well, we got that one twice. Brilliant. Thank you. Next. Sorry. Once you have connected another station on a VHF calling channel, you should, now this is really important. You have to look at the question. This is really important. Look what it says. VHF calling channel. That means you're on your national calling frequency. Okay? So once you've contacted another station on a VHF calling channel, which is your national calling frequency, you should change frequency to the next clear channel. So you've made contact with a mate, say in Scotland, you live over in Liverpool, you contacted a mate in Scotland through some repeaters. The next thing to do is to move frequency to the next clear channel, and you're good. Okay? Next question. The best way to work on, and don't forget up there, please don't forget, VHF calling channel. That is the key to that question. VHF calling channel. Wherever that is, US, UK, Japan, VK land, wherever, the ZL folks, there is a national calling frequency. It is only there to initiate contact. Once you have made contact, make agreement with that station to move to another frequency. That way someone else can use the frequency, make contact with someone else, and then move to their own frequency. That's how that works, okay? All right, the best way to work on mains equipment is to disconnect it from the mains. This has to do with power supply. This has to do with power. So in US, this is going to make sense. UK, mains mean power. Power, okay? So you disconnect it from the mains. It's the best way to work on the equipment in your mains, okay? We've got, I think, 2 more, but I think that equals 4. So just a moment. Next question. What is the maximum transmitted power permitted on 0.136 megahertz? The answer is 1 watt. Just 1 watt. Okay, don't worry about 1 watt power fed to the antenna, 10 watts effective radiated power, 10 watts power fed to the antenna. It's just 1 watt effective radiated power. You remember that, you'll be fine, okay? And then the next one, a wire antenna shorter than a half wavelength will accept power from a transmitter if you use, the answer is an automatic antenna unit. Okay, ATUs don't tune antennas. All they do is help make impedance matches happy so that your radio will transmit into it, because you need a 50 ohm load to go into that antenna. That's resistance, all right? Antenna tuners will try to find a match to get you as close to 50 ohms to the antenna as it can. It doesn't tune the antenna. It simply helps to get you a good impedance to get as much power out of the antenna as you can, all right? So the answer here, a wire antenna shorter than a half wavelength will accept power from a transmitter if you use an automatic tuning unit, all right? And also, a little key to that. An ATU, if you're using it from, say, a flagpole antenna, right? That's going to be a non-resonant antenna. It might be resonant on 1 band. That's it. But it's more important to put a remote ATU there by the flagpole than to use your internal one. And the reason for that is because of the coaxial line coming in from that flagpole all the way into your house. Okay? You're just heating up the ground like crazy and losing a ton of transmitted power if you don't have the tuner there at the tower. That's why. So a remote tuner put outside at that flagpole or vertical that you're using that may be non-resonant on a lot of frequencies is the best way to go, because it makes the antenna as close to resonant as possible and then sends it right up your good coax, get good coaxial cable, good feed line into your shack so you can make the longest calls. Otherwise, you're heating the ground up and you're losing power. You don't want to do that. Last questions on the UK test for today. A feeder is used to carry. Now, for non-UK folks, this will make no sense. A feeder is basically, it means feed line. Okay, so it could be window line, it could be coaxial cable, it could be a long wire, all right? What a feeder is used to carry is RF from the transmitter to the antenna. We call it feed line here, but it's called feeder in the UK. Just a different terminology. Last question. You must notify Ofcom, who is that's their version of the FCC in the UK. Okay, so you must notify Ofcom of any changes to your postal and or station address. And there's another part to this. You must do it immediately. Don't do it 7 days prior. Don't do it 7 days after. And don't do it 21 days after. That's another question that's on the test, believe it or not. So remember, you must notify Ofcom once you move immediately, and you'll be good. That's the end of the test questions. Welcome to the show. That's the passion here. We're trying to get people licensed. We're to 12 now. 12 folks have contacted me letting me know that I've helped them to get licensed. To me, that's very humbling because that's why we're doing it. And I mean that. To me, that's the passion here. Then we show stuff that's kind of cool, and hopefully you all enjoy that. We have a good time. That's what we do. All right. I have some neat stuff to share with you. I'm going to share the stuff with Flex first because I want you to know where we're at with it, because we've had some people asking, and I do want you to know. Okay, I do have now the Flex Maestro working. I do now have the 6500 working. All right. I had a real problem over the weekend. The Flex Maestro was not updating, wasn't initializing. Okay, so I had a problem with it initializing. I contacted Flex Radio on a Saturday night. Flex got a hold of me first thing Sunday morning. No joke. That's the honest truth. Now, that's amazing stuff. They gave me the information. It didn't work. I explained to them my frustrations because it was not working here. And all of a sudden, the computer wasn't recognizing the radio, meaning that my Mac computer wasn't realizing that there was a Flex 6500 here. I told Flex I had a big problem. There was an issue here. What's going on? And nobody replied. Nobody. So I looked at everything and I thought, okay, here's what I have. I have a computer here. I don't have a normal radio. I don't have a box with knobs. This is a computerized box. How would you fix a computerized box? You would reboot it. So that's what had to be done. Had to do a full reboot on the 6500. Once I did that, it came back onto the Mac screen. Perfect. The second thing is on a Maestro. Okay, they have batteries in them like this. Okay, and these batteries sell for $20. They're not that expensive, and they're really small. They're light. They take maybe 5 or 6 hours to fully charge. Once they're charged, you put them back in the transceiver in the Maestro, and you use it. But here's the catch: this has to be charged outside the Maestro. You don't just plug the Maestro in on shore power, recharge the battery while it's doing that. It won't do that. It won't recharge the internal battery that you put into it while you have it in. So for example, if I were to take this battery here, put it back into the Flex Maestro and have it powered, it's not going to recharge this battery. This battery needs to be recharged on a different cord somewhere else. Once it's fully charged, then it goes into the Flex Maestro and it will work remotely. That's how it works. Okay. With all that said, I'm disappointed in Flex for not getting a hold of me. That bothers me because, it's there's a group of people out there that love Flex, and there's a group of people out there that say I'll never own one because it's a computer. Now, I'll be honest, it is a computer. It is. At the basic core, that is a computer. However, if you have some knowledge of computers and you know how to restart or reset, and you know how to use the internet to find out, different methods to fix things, you will be able to make it work. You will. You really will. Okay? I can tell you this radio does stuff that I have not found other transceivers to do. Okay? You must be a little bit computer literate to use one of these. You do. They will argue with me until the day is long, but here's the fact. If I didn't know what to do with this computer, I would still be sitting here with no computer, no radio, no nothing, no Maestro, zero zip, nada. It took what I know a little bit about computers, by the grace of God, seriously, because I'm not a brilliant person, believe me. I can't do code. I don't know how to do computer code. But I do know that when something's not recognized, it's probably got to be restarted or rebooted. So I went through the reboot process and it worked. And it's worked since. There's been no problem since then. The Maestro made a great call last night to Santa Cruz. That works great too. And this thing is brilliant. It really is. You must understand though, different than a Yaesu 101 or a 7610. This is a computer. It's basically, it runs like on a Windows program, and you're going to deal with problems from time to time that will be computer-like, in my opinion. Now, my opinion may not be yours, and you may not agree with it, and that's okay. But I can tell you that I've never once had to restart this Yaesu 101. I never have to restart an ICOM 7300, and I never had to restart any software-defined radio I have ever had, ever. So, with that said, I'm going to keep doing this review. I'm going to give this a shot. I'll do my very best. If I have to go through lots of restarts, though, I'm not going to keep it because I bought this to be a ham radio and use it like a ham radio. I want to turn the button on to turn it on, and then I want to use it. And when I'm done, I want to turn it off and then go do something else. That's what I want to do. I don't need something that's going to continue to give me problems. So, you're going to hear the straight facts here of my experience with this, as you will with any product on this channel. I promise you that. That's what happened. It's now working, and hopefully it'll work for a long time. And I'm counting down the moments until Austin gets a hold of you in the context and the comment section of this video, because they don't like when people speak contrary to their company. I'm not saying it's a bad radio. I'm saying that it's a computer. That's the truth. And there is no lie about that. If you like them, terrific. I see why you like them. They're great. End of story. All right, now we've got some great stuff for you from a wonderful place that is one of the most difficult CQ DXs to make ever. And I mean ever. Let me show you what I'm talking about. There is an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, literally, called Midway Island. It was fought for like crazy in World War II. If you know your history, you know the Battle of Midway. Here's what it looks like. There is still an Air Force base there. There is still, of course, some military presence there. And there are some beaches, and there are lots and lots of birds there. Yeah, there's lots of birds that are there. Let me show you a little farther out for folks that don't know where Midway Island is. Okay, Midway's right in the middle of the Pacific. It is almost the very end of the Hawaiian Island chain. So this would be the northwest corner of the Hawaiian Islands. That's really the truth. The islands of Hawaii continue to travel northwest with small atolls, coral reefs, and they just continue to go until they finally get to Cure Island, which is the farthest one to the northwest of the Hawaiian Island chain. Looking out, if you were to take a big look out, this is how it looks. Midway Island is the red one. Okay, that's right there, literally in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. There was a group of hams that did a great DXPedition to Midway. I thought this was fascinating, and I'd love to share it with you right now. Take a look at this wonderful work by some passionate hams who went all the way to Midway. Would that be cool or what? To do some DX pilot work. Watch. And we'll find it. Where'd it go? My goodness. Here it is. Enjoy.
Kilowatt 4 Mexico 205.
Japan Fox 130 Yankee Mike.
Yankee Mike 59.
Japan Fox 130 Yankee Mike.
Okay, Japan Fox 1 Charlie Yankee Mike 59.
Also 59, thank you.
Roger, Kilowatt 4 Mike 205.
American 6, London Whiskey.
Romeo America 6 again. Romeo Alpha 6.
6, Lima Whiskey.
Radio Alpha
The
6.
DXer out there who is able to be there when we want to work him gets just as much as enjoyment of working us as we do traveling here and doing this and working them and providing that new entity. So many areas out there that are traveled to that are very, very unique. Some people will never, ever see them. Would those of us that are here do it again? Absolutely.
Alpha Charlie only.
Juliet America 8, Mike America Charlie 59
Juliet Alpha 8 Mexico Alpha Charlie 59.
59, thank you.
Roger, thank you. Kilowatt 4 Mike 205. Radio America 1 Oscar Whiskey 59. Roger, thanks. Kilo 4 Mexico.
Japan America 6, Japan November Foxtrot.
Japan America 6, Japan Norway Foxtrot 59.
Thank you very much.
Roger, thank you. Kilowatt 4 Mike.
So here we are the second week of October 2009, and stretched before me on the beach here we have this huge antenna array.
Before the trip, I had sent diagrams to Matt with examples of various types of antennas that we might deploy. He chose vertical as being the most compatible, and he preferred that Yagi antennas not be used.
We knew in working with the group that came out here that closer to December 21st is the ideal time to be broadcasting from Midway. But we also knew that by the 1st of November there's going to be albatross filling the sky.
And probably every 3 or 4 feet you can walk and see a nesting albatross, so it's truly amazing. An interesting part of their biology is that they're here on land for about 9 months of the year, and then 3 months of the year they're out to sea foraging.
And right now we have lots of little birds flying around that are pretty good at avoiding antennas, and the group that's out here is doing a great job of identifying their antennas to show them to the wildlife so the wildlife isn't impacted by the antennas. But albatross are a 15-pound bird with a 7-foot wingspan, and they don't dodge around things very well. So we looked at the window that we felt we could get as late in the season as possible without having the albatross return. And so I think we've timed it just about perfectly with one bird back already. Next week there'll be a dozen, and then 2 days later there'll be 100,000, and they return just that quickly.
We are in their environment, and we had to be aware of that in every moment. And I think that's what's unique about this particular operation, and I don't think it's really been done in the past in anything involving birds and their environment.
We're confined to a small area, and we have taken care to make sure that nothing we do has some collateral effect on the wildlife here. We put up a number of ostensibly intrusive antennas, but we have marked them liberally with surveyor's tape, which is both visible and makes a sound. In the time we've been here, we haven't had a single incident of a bird being injured. And so I think we've shown that we can operate here in an area that is densely populated by swarming birds and not have any negative impact at all.
Being a rookie, just about everything that I learned from everybody here on the expedition was good feedback and input from myself. It is a new experience for me, and I'm very excited to come on and work pile-ups. I've never really used a computer model, and the logging program that we use obviously is designed to send and give out call signs at rapid rates. Some of the pileups, interestingly enough, the type of propagation that we've been experiencing out here, you would call a station and they don't hear you, or they're getting a partial call, or they're not really sure. And it's always good to have a backup plan, and my backup plan, of course, is going back to the basics, which is paddle, which is what I use. I'll hit the button and it'll put the call out, but when I don't hear the station coming back, I go to a manual key, which I've set at a lower speed, and then when they answer, with my right hand, I'll hit the enter button logging them, and with the left hand, I'll go back to the paddles and give them the thank you or to you and go on to the next one.
The Battle Creek Special went up very easily and was working fine on 80 meters.
Arnie, take in your second from the top a little bit. Tom, let loose as he needs it.
I'm tying off my top.
Keep pulling. Come on, just keep pulling. Yeah. Keep going. Stop. Stop. All right. Okay, for the moment, tie that one off. Okay?
When we decided to try the other bands, we found suddenly in mid-tuning of an amplifier that the SWR went high. We took the antenna down the next day, and much to our chagrin, we learned that, you know, there probably is a good reason to follow the directions carefully.
What do you mean you can't copy it? So somebody want to call the shacks and ask them to QRT for 2 minutes?
A couple of the top hat wires had actually touched each other and had shorted out, and once we cleared that up and spread them out properly as directed, it worked perfectly again, and we used it to great advantage.
How about that? Isn't that absolutely stunning to be able to go all the way into the middle of the ocean and be able to do something just like that. DXPeditions in ham radio are something that people often don't get a chance to experience. It might be something you might be interested in, to go to a remote place and work a ham radio. I had the chance to do this past February with a couple of great rigs and work from Hawaii. It was great. It was such a nice experience. DXPeditions usually are a group of hams that get together to work remote places that are difficult for people to get a call from. So it might be a deserted place like Midway or Cure or someplace out in another ocean. But the fact is they go there to be able to make the calls so people can get the call and that island on their list of QSOs to make. Much thanks to the folks who made that video. I'll have the full video in the description of this one here. So if you want to see the entire YouTube video of this, please look in the description section below. It was done, the name of the channel is Brad Arnold. That's who did it. And call sign connected with this is Kilo 4 November Hotel Alpha. I'll have it in the description section and we'll go from there. All right, final comments for y'all. We're going to give you all a 73 from Oregon and we're going to get moving on our day. But I do want to tell you tomorrow, great show planned. Really excited to do it. We're going to celebrate a gentleman from this channel that does work that I don't think he realizes people know that he's done. Yeah, I think this might be a big surprise to one of our viewers. He's a great mate of mine in the UK, and he's been doing DX a long time. I don't know if he realizes how many people have recorded him making calls around the world. We're going to celebrate him tomorrow on Ham Radio Live, as well as have a little bit of the mid-level license in both the UK and the US. So if you're looking for intermediate test help or general test help, tomorrow will be your day. My name's Larry. My call sign's Kilo 7 Hotel November. I appreciate it if you subscribe here because I don't monetize the channel. Your subscription helps other people find it who might have an interest in ham radio. Thanks for watching, everybody. Enjoy this sign-off. It's from Norway. You won't understand the words very well, but I'm doing this for a very dear friend that watches the show, and I hope you enjoy this one. Until tomorrow. God bless you. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Er på plass klokken 19.00, og 19.30 blir det en ny utgave av vårt bilmagasin KNA i hjulspinn. 20.00 sendetid for aktuelt med værmelding her i TV Norge, og 20.15 et nytt avsnitt av vår amerikanske dramatiserte dokumentarserie 911 øyeblikkelig hjelp. 21.10 er det Per Ståle Lønning og Tor Erling Staff som krever klart svar i sitt direktesendte debattprogram, og 22.05 byr vi på UEFA Cup, en kamp fra Carrow Road Stadium. Det er Norwich City og Inter Milan som spiller. 22.55 blir det aktuelt med værmelding, og vi fortsetter annen omgang av UEFA Cup-kampen klokken 23.10. Midnatt er det så klart for et nytt avsnitt av En tapt verden, og skal vi se nærmere på historien til Hyperpasse. Ja, slik er vår sendeplan for onsdagen, og vi håper og tror at det finnes interessante programposter for noen og enhver. Nå er det på høy å runde av en lang sending her fra TV Norge. Vi håper dere har hatt glede av våre programmer, og at vi ses igjen til ny dyst i morgen. Riktig god natt alle sammen, og takk for i dag.
That's all, folks.